Testing. Microphone. Hello. Apologies for that technical hiccup. Now my mic is working. We can go through the numbers. Israel has continued its attacks across the Gaza Strip, including near hospitals and in the south of the besieged enclave, where ground operations are intensifying. Here are the latest casualty figures. Gaza killed at least 27,947 people, including more than 12,150 children, 800 and 300 women. Injured, more than 67,459, including at least 8,663 children, 6,327 women, with at least 7,000 reportedly missing. That reportedly missing still bothers me because I do not think that Israel is checking rubble for survivors or remains before they bulldoze. They do not care. That 7,000 could be in the rubble. In the occupied West Bank, at least 390 people have been killed, including more than 102 children. Injured, more than 4,450, with the detainees being over 6,000 detained. On October the 7th, Hamas attacks on Israel, coordinated attacks, killed at least 1,139 people and injuring at least 8,730. These are the numbers currently for the war on Gaza, this current genocide that is happening. It was previous when word was gotten out that Israel wanted to move the border of Rafah, that rumblings came from, well, not enough. Not enough can be done. For what I understand, the Israelis' Iron Dome is very expensive. The Patriot missile, the whole setup system, is very expensive. If each missile costs $7 million USD, and on October the 7th, Hamas fired 5,000 rockets into Israel. And I tell you, those rockets probably didn't cost that much to make them, to scrap together. But each homing Patriot missile being $6 to $7 million, and just in that one day, on October the 7th, they spent some $35 billion. Now, this is just rough estimates. We only know it by we give them money and they buy our stuff, and then we charge them interest. What? I don't get it. But it's really alarming that people are. I'm not justifying anything being done here, but it's an alternate take to look at to where this funding is going. It's not going into just weapons and bombs. We're already sending them weapons and bombs. They don't need to buy more weapons and bombs. There is no safe place left to go. Rafah is extremely tiny, and there's over 1 million people that have been forced to move here from Khan Yunis, just within the last week. But there have been flyers and leaflets since November that have been telling people to leave Khan Yunis. Problem comes when the army, the IDF, is on the scene. Every civilian is now an enemy combatant. When they say that there is no innocent civilian, those that remain, especially that are being bombarded in Khan Yunis, in Rafah. And there's still so much between Khan Yunis and northern Gaza, which has been practically destroyed, or is currently being destroyed. But nothing has been focused as much as Khan Yunis. I agree that we send way too much ammunition and shells, equipment. Now it's going to be tied to Ukraine, so who knows what's going to happen in the next month. If Republicans see Ukraine fending itself off as a Biden win, I do fear for the future, because that is completely illogical and out of his control. It had nothing to do with this. This is Ukrainian people. This is their fight, their war. But we were trying to make good on support that we could have given them years ago, but didn't. That's a whole other story. Netanyahu says Israel developing dual plan to evacuate Rafah civilians and defeat Hamas. What evidence have they found of Hamas or tunnels? They're flooding like sewer ways with salt water, but all these tunnels look very similar, which is probably sewers. Drought, no water, no flowing water. It's probably gross. You destroy the land with salt water, everything in it. Jerusalem. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said on Friday he had ordered the military to develop a dual plan to evacuate civilians from Rafah and southern Gaza and to defeat the remaining Hamas battalions. Hamas battalions? As international pressure on Israel mounts. Now there's battalions hidden amongst all the people that are fleeing the violence and trying to find any kind of aid. Let me tell you, the aid that they get is flour, something freeze-dried. You need clean drinking water to be able to use these products. So not only are they waiting around for dry products, they have to find clean water, which is nowhere. And all the water that's around their feet has also been contaminated due to, death, bodies, artillery, and gas. Like, a whole lot of bad things can happen when the water pressure goes away, when there are holes in the pipes everywhere. People are getting dribblings of water out of pipes where the water is not safe to consume, and they're still consuming it. Adults can live on anything in a pinch. Not children. Not children. Children get sick, they become malnourished, they become malformed. Dirty water. The effects are more immediate to children than it is to a full-grown adult. The child will begin having some kind of strange oddity that develops the result of drinking this very extremely contaminated water. Any bread, anything made as a result of any of the aid that actually goes through near the Rafah border needs clean water and time. And right now, there's just never been given any time. Everyone's tired, sick, and moving, always on the move. They tend to get flooded out or they get caught in severe winds. It's what you carried on your back is all you were allowed to carry. And the rest of Gaza has been just waiting for their turn as they escalate this war. And see, we have Rafah here. A lot of bulldozing has been all within this area. Rafah has been relatively free of bulldozing, but the problem is now our airstrikes that are hitting Rafah in the same way that they are hitting Han Yunis, Nasser Hospital, and other areas that are violently kept in place because they're too afraid to leave the hospital, too afraid to leave indoors, because after Israel says that all civilians have been evacuated, that's it. Everyone on the ground now is fair game as an enemy combatant and to be treated as one. They are doing this time and time again. But what they are doing now is they're telling over 1.2 million displaced people, on top of the people that they are sharing space with, the Rafah Egyptian border, we're going to see a massacre or a crowd crush that is in the hundreds of thousands of people within a few short days, weeks. It's an alarming amount of people that have been at a corridor they only could cross going into Rafah from Khan Yunis. Men that were of serving age for Hamas were taken away while the women and children were separated. Children have been suffering the most, will always suffer the most in any conflict. But when it's one that is so heavy-handed against children, especially, it's people are monsters to believe that these children were in the wrong place at the wrong time, or they had something to do with this war. No. The monsters are wrong. Warhawks are wrong. What is happening here is complete and utterly displacement of people. They have been savagely turned from north all the way to south, walking, less and less, with less people, with less things, with less food, less water. They continue their journey. This is a trail of tears. This is looking at history that is defining millions of people going forward, especially when it comes to the illegal settlement and displacement of Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. Rafah is very tiny. Khan Yunis was huge, but about a third of Khan Yunis has been taken down due to bulldozers and tanks. Rafah is so tiny comparatively, and there are still so many people on foot. Say 100,000 people easy are on foot. They meet another 100,000 people that are moving south. Bomb explodes, there's gunfire, and panic ensues, and these two parties ensue into a large crowd crush. Is that what Israel is trying to do, is try to create enough panic to have the largest crowd crush on earth? This is what is happening. This is what you're pushing people into desperation. People think there is more food, more support the further south they go. The people that are far south are at the Egyptian border looking for help and finding nothing. Absolutely nothing. Suffering of children is paramount into labeling this as a genocide. It's that snarky kind of behavior and one-liners and sarcastic dark humor to try to cover up what's really happening and what's really going on, which is just absolute massacre. 200 Palestinians die every day, and 2/3 of them being women and children. What are they doing? What is going on and why? But nobody's been asking these questions now until it's been too late. Until there's already been over 28,000 dead, or 13,000 of them being children alone. How can you be for anything? Every person that says they're for this war, for Israel finishing the job, wrong. They should be getting their civilians into home. That has not been happening. And with this recent passing of diplomacy with Netanyahu and cabinet, they're going to go in on Rafah and nothing is going to stop them. What they are doing to Khan Yunis by completely dismantling it while they blow up the north, this is going to be a terrible ground assault and bombing campaign on what amounts to a small city on the Egyptian border. 6.49 kilometers in length and let's say 1.8 kilometers. I've covered wildfires way larger than that affected virtually nobody immediately like this has been doing. It is grotesque. This genocide must be stopped. There must be a ceasefire. There must be an exchange of prisoners. It's way too complicated and to pick sides at this point, I think. People have their mind made up already that they were for this war. They're likely not going to change that later for whatever reason. But people that were unaware of the hostilities and the brutal nature of this war has unfolded. It's insanity. If there are no innocent civilians and the IDF has ordered all civilians out of Rafah, anybody that stays will be considered an enemy combatant. 1.2 million people will then, just like every other time that they said civilians leave, people that stayed behind were fired upon, shot at, were gathered up, rounded up, separated, taken. This is what is going to happen in Rafah. And does Israel really believe that they're just going to roll in there? No, they're going to drop bombs on there first and soften up the targets, because they believe there are 4 battalions worth of Hamas in Rafah. I haven't heard them use battalion once this entire time, I think. If it was in another language that I didn't read, but they used that word and it didn't translate well, I don't think so. There is nowhere left to go. As far south as people can go, the border crossings are completely closed down, and the border itself with Egypt is almost utterly impassable. There would be thousands of dead people shredded on the Egyptian border, putting their lives as a sacrifice to have people that are climbing up to have a safe climb. You know what I mean? They're going to be everybody that's running away, that's trying to get away from the soldiers, from the military, from the operations that are conducted in Rafah. But you have 10, 20, 200,000 people that are all starting to run in panic towards a wall that was thought to be utterly impassable. Why does Israel want to move the border of Rafah, and where and why? And what would be considered a civilian after that point? Who will no longer be civilians. Women, children, and men will all be treated not equally. As a woman, as a child, you'll be kept in a room, in a building, away from the men that are probably going to be rounded up and executed. Whenever the soldiers safely leave the building into the ground, then a tank shell would probably be fired into the building in your direction. Well, you're told not to leave yet, so they know you're there. So they can't look directly at a child, they can't look directly at a woman, I think, is the problem. Like, absolutely unreal amount of brutality. They'd rather kill 80 women and children that are huddling for warmth in a building than one of the few left that isn't riddled with bullet holes and shells that have rendered it to dust. Let's look at the recent updates. Human Rights Watch says Rafah evacuation would have catastrophic consequences. International rights watchdog Human Rights Watch has said that forcing hundreds of thousands of displaced Palestinians out of Rafah would place Palestinians in danger. The organization also noted that the ICJ has ordered Israel to prevent genocide in Gaza. Forcing 1 million plus displaced Palestinians in Rafah to again evacuate would be unlawful and have catastrophic consequences, said the Human Rights Watch. There is nowhere safe to go in Gaza. The ICJ has ordered Israel to prevent genocide. The international community should act to prevent further atrocities. 28,000 Palestinians in Gaza are dead. More than 7,000 missing that were probably in the rubble that never were given a search. 390 educational facilities. 70% of homes in Gaza are uninhabitable. 13 out of 35 hospitals are partially functioning. 122 ambulances. 7 places of worship. 11 bakeries destroyed. Nowhere safe to go. This is what we're seeing here. Rafah crossing is shut down. 15 people are killed. 6 are children every hour in Gaza. 35 people are injured every hour in Gaza. 42 bombs are dropped every hour in Gaza. And 12 buildings are destroyed every hour in Gaza. These are not munitions, these are not shells, not bombs that are quote unquote dumb. The precision targeting. So 12,150 children dead were not accidents. And it is not going to be an accident when the same thing that has been happening in Khan Yunis has been happening far north of it in Gaza, old Gaza. They're being told to evacuate, and those that remain behind for any reason will be considered an enemy combatant. We're already seeing this in Khan Yunis. It is alarming how quickly these orders change, and then the bread lines get fired upon with live ammunition. There's nowhere to go, and you want to keep panicking people by the thousands at a time. They're never going to eat. They're never going to get water. They're never going to be able to sleep. This is torture on a collective scale, one that is terrifying. To think that it's still left to go as it currently is, completely unchecked. The whole world is watching this unfold, has been watching this unfold. 28,000 people are dead. And on that 67,000 people that are injured, we don't know if these people that were reportedly, and those are some high numbers. Really high numbers. Very damning numbers. A lot of children that make up the bulk of the killed and injured. And with 7,000 still missing. Do you think Israel is looking through the rubble before they bulldoze it away for survivors or for remains? That 7,000 missing starts becoming a little macabre. Because it could be in a pile somewhere. What is left of them. But they're not checking. They're not checking for remains. They're not checking for bodies or survivors before they do this. It is horrifically unethical in every way. And there is no justification for the bulldozing of possible survivors in the rubble. It is grotesque. Watching them dance and be happy and merry while these people suffer so much is aggravating. That is why I'm doing this. That's why I've been doing this. Can't agree with what's going on here. But again, when we're talking about the billions of dollars that go to Palestine, sorry, it goes to Israel. We're talking about billions of dollars you turn around and buy weapons with. Patriot missiles, other things like that. That cost hundreds of thousands to millions of dollars each. Repair, maintenance as well in the Iron Dome. If the numbers are accurate, and Israel really did use over like $36 billion worth of Iron Dome rockets. That's going to take a while to replace. It's just an interesting alternate fact based on the amount of money they get and the amount of weaponry that they buy. Turn around and buy. We give you USD so you can stimulate the invisible hand, the economy, by spending millions of dollars, billions of dollars that we give you on imports. Is it a scam? I don't know. Is foreign aid a scam? I don't think so. But turning off funding to Israel would not stop this war. And more important that they continue getting Iron Dome protection. Because as soon as they're cut off from that, that's truly hell that no one would want. Well, obviously there are people that want that. $12,150 children have been killed since October the 7th in the Gaza Strip. It is terrifying. There's no funerals, there's no time to grieve. Israel infamously has never allowed for funerals or grieving to happen as they keep interrupting funerals. Abu Akla of Al Jazeera was shot while on duty, while I was watching live. I'll never forget this. America has the bullet, and there is no justice for her. No justice for the 100 plus journalists that have been killed so far since October the 7th. 4 of these journalists were Israelis. Again, these are precision weapons that they're using. These are not accidents. It's 27,947 people that have been killed so far since October the 7th from the Gaza Strip. 12,150 of them are children. 8,300 have been women. They make up an incredible bulk. You have like 2/3 that are equaling all the casualties on one side. It's insanity. I think that these are shields, like they're not going to fight children, they're not going to shoot children, they're not going to bomb children. I mean, those thoughts are gone. Yes, they're going to fight children. Yes, they're going to arrest children. They're going to detain children. They're going to kill children, and they're going to bomb children and continue that. And with how many children that are left in Rafah, that are scared, hungry, tired, wet, cold, it's not going to end. Rafah isn't going to be the end. This kind of behavior doesn't end just at, well, we'll only cross this line. That doesn't happen when you have unchecked favor. When you even just saying the word genocide, no, you have to let them finish. Sure, let them finish the war on Hamas, but did 12,150 children deserve to die in Gaza? And why? Anybody that says that there were children that were Hamas, like, just at any straw will you pull? It doesn't matter. Because anybody that can justify so many lives lost senselessly is not thinking clearly that all we are talking about here is when the earth is in pain, when the planet is in pain. And this genocide so far has been horrific, grotesque. It has been a massacre on the women and children of Gaza more than anyone. I thank you for watching, listening, and hearing us out. I thank you for liking the stream and subscribing to the channel. It helps me out immensely. If there is any more news, I will be back with another stream. As of right now, 27,947 people have been killed, 12,150 of them being children, 8,300 being women. These are the numbers, and there is no safe place left to go in Gaza. There is no safe place, there is no even place for anyone in Rafah to go, the 1.2 million plus people. This is going to be hundreds of thousands of deaths. Who knows? If they decide just to soften the targets and bomb it first, it's going to be a lot of chaos and an absolute horror show at the border. All right. Thank you. Take care.